Welcome back to Healthy with Nicole. In today's video, I wanted to show you some of the fats that you're going to want to consume on the carnivore diet. First of all, when we're eating carnivore diet, the whole point is to get protein and fat. We're going to focus on that and nothing else. And most of the fat that you're going to take in is the naturally occurring fats that are attached to meats. So if you think about beef, lamb, pork, salmon, all of these things have fat in them. And depending on the part of the animal that you're having, it's going to be a little more fat, a little less fat. We typically want to follow a little more high fat because it's more satiating and the brain needs a lot of fat. There's some argument to some people want to do a little bit more leaner protein. Some people want to do a little bit more high fat diet with lower protein. And so you really have to figure out what works for you. I have tried both, and the leaner protein is great for a minute. It will help you to lean out a little bit a lot of times. But then I find out you can't do it too long because then your whole process of ketosis gets lessened. And not that you have to chase ketones, but you're getting high protein, low fat, just seems less satiating. You need to eat a lot more protein. And so there's some schools of thought that less protein, more fat is actually better for longevity. And it's really about you testing it out and seeing where you're needing to be. For me, I fluctuate. For a while there, I was eating lean, then I just was craving tons of fat, so I loaded fat in, and I was doing about 70% of my calories were in fat. And so this is just, you got to listen to your body and where you're at in life. But nonetheless, on the carnivore diet, it's going to be focusing on these fats here. So I wanted to run through these with you. The only thing I don't have here is the egg yolks, because I consider that a fat, even though there's some protein in there. That is one of the fats that I would include. And if I was going to add extra, I would do extra yolks. So first of all, I'm going to start off with this fat here, which is just trimmings, right? I got these actually free at Whole Foods from the butcher. And I just went in and asked if they had any beef trimmings. So I think these actually came off of a ribeye, but I'm not positive. But I will say that I've had people ask me, why are they so light in color if they are grass-fed? Good question. So I compared it to the animal fats, the meat that I get from a local farm, which is grass-fed and finished, which I'm positive about, and it's still the same color. So I think it just depends on, what exactly they're eating, what the grasses are like. We'll need to ask a farmer to tell us for sure. But it's not always going to be more yellow. In some cases it is, but not always. So that is why this one is grass-fed and I think grain-finished from Whole Foods. But nonetheless, a little bit better in my opinion than conventional. And so you're gonna have a little bit more omega-3 fatty acids. You want that conjugated linoleic acid, and that's what we're getting from this beef fat. So I actually just take the fat and I sear it in the pan just like you would cooking any other meat, kind of brown it, put a little salt on it. I'll sometimes cut it up and add it to different things. I love it. It actually tastes really, really good. So there's one option, is just straight up beef fat trimmings. If you're on a budget, this one is probably your best bet. And you can oftentimes get it for free, even from a really great, grass-fed and finished product that you buy from a local farm. Just ask the farmer. Typically they want to get rid of them. All right. And then along those lines, this is beef marrow bones. And so these are a little harder to see in the package because these I just keep in my freezer. But what I do is just take one of these out, not every day, but a lot of days. And you see this middle section here, which is the actual bone marrow. And I just sear it on each side because I like it. And then I'll salt it, and then I'll dig it out with a little spoon and eat it. And that is pure fat. And it's from, it's within the bone. So it contains a ton of nutrients in there and some micronutrients as well, some minerals. And so these are great to add just more fat into your diet, or if you're doing a fat fast, which would be you're eating only fats, small amounts of them throughout the day to help you to fast. We'll go into a whole nother talk about using fat for a fast and fat fasting and why you do that. But basically it's just to try to keep your insulin low for an extended period of time. This would be to help with creating stem cells in your body, to help with your insulin resistance and diabetes, things like that. So the fat in here is amazing, and I highly recommend grass-fed and finished if you are going to go for the beef marrow. And you don't need a lot, so I would, one of these is plenty at one time, and it will help you to stay satiated if you need to be, eating one meal a day because of travel or for work or whatever. If it's your schedule and your lifestyle, then you're going to want to add more fat to that to help carry you through. So those are what I would consider the most natural, right? Not processed whatsoever. And then we get into slightly more processed, but also really good forms of fat on the carnivore diet. And obviously you're going to notice there's no coconut oil here. There's no coconut oil in this area because coconut oil is not an animal. And so it's not on the carnivore diet. This is something that people will include on the ketogenic diet, but not on carnivore. So we're going to stick with animal fats. And I like these two of my favorite forms of butter. This one is a cultured butter that I get at Trader Joe's, comes from France. And then this one is Kerrygold, another very popular one that you can get almost anywhere now. And they have unsalted version as well. And I actually just usually put a slice like you would cheese. Instead of cheese, I use butter, put it on meat and hamburgers and things like that. I love it. It's so, so good. And again, this, because it comes from grass-fed, are going to be higher in omega-3 fatty acids and also the conjugated linoleic acid, CLA, which helps to burn fat. So been some pretty cool research done on those to help heal the gut, to help lose body fat. Awesome stuff. And then there is the Clarified Butter, also known as ghee. And I love this brand, Fourth and Heart. I'm going to put the links to these down below in the comments to the Amazon link so you can find that. And I do have an affiliate account and you can click on that. That helps me out. So thank you. But this is going to be if for some reason you don't do well with butter. Some people are really, really sensitive to dairy. And so all of the dairy, all of the lactose, there's nothing like that in ghee anymore. It's just oil. So this is clarified butter or ghee. And I like this one with a Himalayan pink salt in it. I will often put it on a hamburger. It's so good. You could think of other ways that you want to do that too. If you are into drinking, bulletproof coffees or teas or something like that, you could put this in there to increase your proportion of fats. So again, I don't think you need to necessarily chase ketones, but it will help you to get your ketones higher by adding more fat. This is important if you're new to a ketogenic or carnivore diet, because if you are really low on energy due to that transition, a lot of people struggle in that first few months, and that's because you don't have enough ketones. If your ketones are high enough, fast enough, your body starts to make those and adapt quickly, you should have a lot of energy. If you're dragging in energy, you probably need salt, magnesium, and more fat. And that will usually help boost you to get past that really tough zone where you're transitioning and trying to get fat adapted. But for most people, we don't need to load a lot of fat into our diets. You really want to focus on the protein first and then add fat to satiety, right? So that's how I've been doing it. Works great for me, but find what works for you. And I want to also mention this other version, this flavor of Fourth and Heart ghee, which is the vanilla bean. So I typically don't eat sweets at all on the carnivore diet, but this has got the most amazing smell to it. It actually has a Madagascar vanilla in here, and it's just a hint of it. It's not overly powering, but if you're someone that's making ketogenic things and butter's an ingredient and it's kind of like a sweet thing, this would be amazing. I'm not doing that, but I have used a spoonful of this in some tea when I do want something sweet. And I'll do like a rooibos tea with a spoonful of vanilla ghee and a little bit of stevia. And it's actually like a super nice treat for something a little bit sweet. So these are some of my go-to fats. You can even get the little travel version here if you're out and about or you fly. This has been helpful for me when I've had to travel, just to make sure I've got some good quality fats around. And all of these have been really good for me. So find what works for you, figure out the ratios, a little more fat, a little less, write it down, see how you feel, give it a little time, and then you'll figure out about how much and which fats work the best for you. If you like that video, give it a thumbs up, and I will see you in the next one.